What's up, guys? Greg here with beerleagueathletes.com. A video like this, I would usually start out by talking about myself, my background, and blah, 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 blah. Nobody cared. And today we're going to talk about how do you get abs. It's the number one question I get over the 7 years I've been doing this. It always comes back to people don't care what they look like. They can be in phenomenal shape. They might have a little layer of fat over their abs, and then that's all they consume. Their thought was that they need to lose some weight around the middle, right? And that's a pretty valid thing, I think, for most guys. A lot of guys carry all their weight around their stomach. I'm sure you've seen those guys that look fairly like healthy or whatever in their upper body, lower body, and then all of a sudden they have one of those like big beer guts, right? And that's just because that's what their body has decided, and it's mainly in males. That's where their body has decided to deposit their fat. So I'm not totally shocked that that's the number one question I get. There's countless books written about this. There's other YouTube channels that talk about it. I have found when you go and research this stuff, the people that are talking about it have they don't even have a 6-pack. They have like an 8-pack. They're giant dudes. They may or may not be on steroids. But the underlying things I've noticed with these guys, they're all single, and they have a dog. I don't know what's up with that. It's probably because of their lifestyle is fairly selfish, I would imagine. Like if you're spending 2 to 6 hours a day at the gym, which is what Arnold Schwarzenegger used to do. He was in the gym 6 hours a day while he was taking steroids. You need some type of companionship, and I'm pretty sure a significant other, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, would not want to really hang out with you if all you ever want to do is work out. They might like you initially, and then once they find out how boring you are, they probably want nothing to do with you. So the dog probably doesn't care. Anyway, so by all means, go read some of that stuff if you want. But I find it a little disingenuous when it's a guy taking steroids, working out 6 hours a day at the gym, and I see those same guys in magazines, and they're like, "Oh, all you have to do is this 30-second ab routine, and you'll look like me." And it's a bunch of bullshit. Before I get into kind of the how-to, I want to talk about 3 things, because I think this is more important than the actual, what type of exercises do I do to get abs, and I think that's the approach most people take, and you're always going to fail doing that. So the first thing is, you have to figure stuff out on an intellectual level. Now, for most people, that will not promote any type of change. So a good example is smokers. I think everybody in the world, including smokers, knows that it is costly and will shorten your lifespan, and you're opening yourself up to like a bazillion different diseases, right? But people still smoke. Intellectual will help some people, and it is needed towards the end of your transformation, but for the majority, it won't do anything. Number 2, where a lot of people change, is on an emotional level. The best example I can find for that is a male who goes to the doctor who's been living somewhat of an unhealthy lifestyle, and the doctor tells him, "Hey, you've contracted type 2 diabetes. If you don't change your lifestyle, these are the side effects, like boom, you could go blind, you can, lose a limb, yada yada." But the big one for guys is you can go impotent, right? So for most guys, that will immediately, you're gonna have a huge emotional reaction, I would assume, to that, and that will, for most people, help change them. And the third and the most lasting effect is when you change how you view yourself. So example, one of my clients actually gave me the other day, she would always think about how she was unhealthy. So that unhealthy thought on unhealthiness was what dominated her daily thought process. And then she'll always stay there, because once you allow that negative energy to enter into your mind, it permeates your life, and that's what will happen, right? So if you talk to someone who's pretty negative, everything they talk about is negative, right? Like, "Hey, how you doing?" And then they spit out what's going on in their day, right? You try to avoid those people for the most part. So what she said I thought was kind of interesting. This a week ago. She told me when she made the switch to become more healthy, she just, instead of viewing herself as someone who was overweight, she decided she was going to be an athlete. Just one day, she kind of woke up and said, "I'm going to go out on a bike ride, and I want to be an athlete." And that mental change, instead of saying, "I just want to lose a couple pounds," but always thinking of herself as someone who's overweight or unhealthy, she decided she was going to be an athlete. And that completely changed her life. And the main reason, I think, because of the reason that happens, one, if you say, "I want to lose 5 pounds," that's just a goal, right? And if you change it to a must, I must lose 5 pounds, or going back to the diabetes example, I need to become more healthy or I'm going to go impotent. that's a must, right? So then you will change your lifestyle to fit whatever your goals are, right? But that doesn't happen until you mentally get to that point. So kind of get into more of the I guess like meat and potatoes part of getting abs. The number one thing, honestly, it's your food intake. And now most people will be like, oh, that's it. Yeah, a lot of the stuff isn't rocket science. That's why I haven't written a book. Again, I find I'm kind of disingenuous. Now, if you're going to read a book, I wouldn't even read one that is one of those muscle dudes. I would pick up a nutritional book, like some type of, like a guy I like. He's out of the UK. His name's Ben Pratt. I find him and I have the same kind of mindset towards food. And I kind of talked about the paleo diet on some of our other videos. Now, I'm not a big advocate of it just because I think some of the restrictions are a little silly without getting into paleo, but the general concept of paleo, and I think most people get that now, is to eat like natural foods and things that grow out of the ground. And one of the main reasons people carry weight around their stomach is it's stress to their body. So a lot of times if you have a layer of fat around your stomach, especially below your belly button, it's because you have too much stress in your life. It could be cortisol, it could just be the food and stuff that you're eating. And a lot of the research done nowadays when they're talking about veganism, trumping meat eaters, that is true if you don't really dive too deeply into the studies. If you're eating like grass-fed meats, that stuff is not included in a lot of these studies that promote veganism. They're talking about all these chemically grown animals that, I mean, it's totally disgusting. There's all kinds of a lot of people have seen Food Inc. It's a documentary. I highly recommend you watch that. It talks about that. Like 80% of our antibiotics in the United States actually gets dumped into our live feed because there's all this E. coli and everything, and we're pumping them full of this medication that we then ingest, and our bodies didn't evolve on that. So then we naturally have a stress. The second you eat it, you're taking in all these chemicals and your body is kind of freaking out. It's just a stress to your system. And a lot of times your energy will be lower. You're gonna have stress other parts of your day just because of what we're putting in our bodies. If you've seen any like the McDonald's stuff, like they dip their meat in ammonia. It's fucking disgusting, really. Anyway, so the number one thing to get abs is food. And you have to log food. Most people don't want to log food, and they're always, oh, I can't do that, it's tedious. It takes me like 2 minutes a day. It's one of the easiest. Most people kind of eat the same thing anyway. Like if you have a sandwich, like bread's about 100 calories. I don't know how much sandwich meat you put on there, but you probably do about the same every day. You already know in your head how much that is. You don't even have to physically write it down. You can keep track in your head. And the other side of that too is your body is not a mathematician, right? So there's like 12 or 13 different ways to calculate your resting metabolic rate, which is how many calories your body basically burns if you're just laying there in bed doing absolutely nothing. So there's no real exact science behind food logging. But for most people, and people that I have go through the food logging process, they're blown away. The average American underestimates by 40% how many calories they intake during a day. So, most people will, they go to a Starbucks, have a coffee and a muffin, and they'll guess it's, 300-400 calories, when in reality it's almost double that, right? So food is a huge important part of lowering your body fat. The other one is you have to work out. Jack LaLanne, who's one of my fitness kind of heroes, gurus, he said that working out is king and food is queen, and you need both of those in conjunction to have a castle, or to have a kingdom, sorry. So you have to work out. My website's got all kinds of videos on there. We've got over 70 videos, I think more than 75 now. Just different workout routines and routines that I do myself. So the picture I showed at the front, I'm literally doing stuff that's on the website, right? I came up with those. It came out of my brain. Also, my friend and my partner in the videos, Brian, a lot of his input as well. Brian weighs about 150 pounds. Guy can squat over 300. He's a bit of a specimen. So that's it. If you want more information, please feel free to visit the site. You can sign up at the site. You can send emails through the site. We are going to launch a Facebook page fairly shortly. Just ask questions. And again, it's just you have to eat correctly and move your body more than you were